Censorship.
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 Censorship, cancel culture, free speech, huge topics. Today we're looking at what the left says, what the right has to say, and what the Constitution says. Let's jump right into it. Recently, Jimmy Kimmel found himself in some controversy regarding the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This is what he said after his death.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points.
For some context, Jimmy Kimmel had said these things a few days after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and there was a lot of controversy online about what was the political affiliation of the assassin. Was he from the left? Was he from the right? Was he from the far right? And once Jimmy Kimmel had said these words, it had already been determined that he wasn't from the right at all, that if he was anything, he was probably from the left, though that hasn't been verified. So when Jimmy Kimmel said, hey, the killer was part of the MAGA group or the pro-Trump group, a lot of people from the conservative movement took offense, saying, hey, we think you're lying, because there's already evidence saying that he wasn't from the right. Now, the big thing with this is the free speech debate. Immediately after this, ABC decided to suspend Jimmy Kimmel's program, and people were very shocked by it, but it came after this FCC podcast video with the FCC commissioner sending a quasi warning to ABC.
Look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel. It appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. Frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. A very reasonable, minimal step that can be taken. I mean, obviously, look, there's calls for Kimmel to be fired. I think, you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at.
So this is the leader of the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. If you don't know anything about them, they really govern everything to do with communications and networks. Specifically, they deal with ABC, which is owned by Disney, because ABC leases public airwaves from the American public through the FCC. Also, ABC is in the middle of a merger, and the FCC is the one at the end of the day that's going to be able to approve this merger. Now, the FCC director was appointed by Trump. People on the left are saying that the FCC director was using his powers to directly influence the speech of Jimmy Kimmel by putting pressure on ABC financially. It could have been a warning, a threat. The hard way could have been, hey, we're going to stop the big merger you have coming up. We're going to take ABC off the airwaves and directly impact the financial health of the company. Now, we come to the topic of free speech. There are two huge categories you can go down. You can go down the category of free speech in terms of, can someone fire you or hire you because of something you said? And the answer is, of course. There's 1,000 things you could say that could affect relationships with other people. The other category is government intervention. What can the government do to influence people's speech? Can they punish or reward people for speech? And that's the conversation of this video. Did the Trump administration use the FCC to influence the speech of Jimmy Kimmel? Here's what Jimmy Kimmel said once the suspension was lifted off of him from ABC.
I've been hearing a lot about what I need to say and do tonight. And the truth is, I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human. And that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make, but I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to. This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
Now, from the conservative point of view, there's a lot of mixed opinions of what's going on. One of the point of views is that the ABC leases their airwaves from the public, and in the lease agreement, it says that they have to use their airwaves, their time and television for the public's best interest. And so one of the arguments that have been made is that, is it the best interest for Jimmy Kimmel to claim that the killer came from half of the American population, from the MAGA crowd? So in their perspective, they would say, hey, he's basically accusing half of America. Here's what Trump posted after Jimmy Kimmel came back from ABC.
Quoting from his social media post, "I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled." He continued with the thread, "I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. A true bunch of losers. Let Jimmy Kimmel rot in his bad ratings." Trump
used some very colorful language with that post. Also, his vice president, Vance, said that the government didn't actually use intervention with the FCC, and it's evidenced by the fact that ABC put Kimmel back on after the suspension.
What people will say is, well, didn't the FCC commissioner put a tweet out that said something bad? Well, compare that, the FCC commissioner making a joke on social media. What is the government action that the Trump administration has engaged in to kick Jimmy Kimmel or anybody else off the air? Zero. What government pressure have we brought to bear to tell people that they're not allowed to speak their mind? Zero. We believe in free speech.
So the perspective from the Trump administration is that they didn't use the FCC to pressure ABC. This is not the perspective of all conservatives in the world. There's a number of conservatives that disagreed with the FCC's comments that pushed ABC.
The companies, if they're being pressured by the government, so if that's real, and if people on the right are like, yeah, go get them, oh my God, you're crazy. You're crazy for supporting this, because this will be used on you.
Now, I know that Joe Rogan's not necessarily a conservative voice, but he did promote Trump in this last election period. But there are a number of conservative politicians and leaders who are coming out and saying, hey, we don't like what the Trump administration is doing regarding this ABC and free speech violation, in their opinion.
Look, I like Brendan Carr. He's a good guy. He's the chairman of the FCC. I work closely with him. But what he said there is dangerous as hell. And I got to say, he threatens it. He says, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way.
Yeah.
And I got to say, that's right out of Goodfellas. That's right out of a mafioso coming into a bar going, nice bar you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. I think it is unbelievably dangerous for government to put itself in the position of saying, we're going to decide what speech we like and what we don't, and we're going to threaten to take you off air if we don't like what you're saying. And it might feel good right now to threaten Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
But when it is used to silence every conservative in America, we will regret it.
And that's a big deal coming from a conservative who supported Trump in 2016, 2020, 2024, who's saying, I think this looks like censorship and I don't want any part of it. We don't need to do any sort of censorship in our country. Now, there's a lot of people on the right who support what Trump did and saying that the left started it years ago in the year 2020, and they've been censoring with the big tech companies. And they're saying, hey, we're just doing what they did back, so it's fine because they've already done it to us.
And I don't care whether he keeps his job. I don't care whether he has a show. He has a right to say whatever he wants. He doesn't have a right to a job in network television. And for the liberals that are complaining about censorship, they loved it when they were pressuring the FCC to drop Fox and to investigate Sinclair. They loved it when Joe Biden pressured all the big tech companies to censor us over a joke about Fauci or the Fauci ouchie. So I don't listen to what they have to say. Jessica's probably going to blame Trump, but it was Bob Iger who suspended him and then unsuspended him.
The view from the left is really attacking Trump's policies and saying, hey, Trump ran on free speech, and now he's coming against the very thing that won him the election.
So it's probably ironic for these people to see the government trying to censor its critics.
The left wanted to make comedy illegal, you know? Yeah. Like, you can't make fun of anything. So then it was like, comedy sucks. It's like, nothing's funny. You can't make fun of anything. It's like, legalize comedy.
I've heard about the joke. Maybe it's a stupid racist joke, as you said. Maybe it's not. But I think that we have to stop getting so offended at every little thing in the United States of America. I'm so over it.
I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America.
Bring back free speech to America. And now here we are 9 months later, and we're living in a very different world. I guess at the end of this week now, the question seems to be, as it often is with Trump, was this all just a big miscalculation in the sense that it's really opened up this Pandora's box of maybe self-reflection in the conservative movement about whether they really believe in free speech, whether or not this is actually as far as they want to go? I mean, are we at that moment?
I don't think that the silver lining is a moment of reflection from the right. I think what it is it's a big reveal that it was never about free speech. This has been consistent.
For some people.
For this administration.
Yeah, for this administration.
For this president, since the beginning, they have been cracking down on free speech at universities, at museums, at law firms, and at media companies. And so this actually just captures the attention because it's popular entertainment. Colbert plus Kimmel equals an undeniable attempt to throw brushback pitches at free speech, at comedians, at satire. And so it's a lot more serious. I'd love for them to have a come to Jesus moment and realize that they want to apply their principles in an equal manner. I'm not holding my breath for that, but we all need to wake up right now.
The perspective of the left is they're saying that President Trump has put too much influence on other people's speech, saying that he is trying to control what other people are saying. They're saying that these lawsuits with the universities and lawsuits with these media companies are just his way of trying to censor and to almost have a cancel culture with people by using governmental influence to affect what they say or what they don't say. On this CNN panel, there was a conservative on there who said, I didn't like what Jimmy Kimmel said. I thought it was offensive, but I don't think that President Trump actually put any pressure with FCC onto ABC.
Look, I don't like what he said. I really don't. I actually hated what he said. And obviously what happened with Charlie Kirk being assassinated, it sent chills down the spines of a lot of people. But at the end of the day, if Kimmel said something that was bad, there was a process to go after somebody if they said something bad. So I'm not from the school if they should have let him go, but that's not my decision. That was ABC's decision to let him go.
You're leaving out an essential detail. Yeah. You have a high-profile Trump official who goes on a podcast, very prominent podcast, and insists, among other things, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. At that point, this is called jawboning. That's the technical term for it. They're doing absolutely everything they can to not only intimidate them, but every other broadcaster, and the president is sending a very clear message from Air Force One. If you're giving me negative coverage, which apparently includes comedians doing monologues, we may come after you. That is completely un-American. I'm glad that Ted Cruz is saying the right thing.
The conservative was saying that ABC and Disney made a financial decision. It wasn't a government press decision. They were already losing money with the Jimmy Kimmel show, and they didn't want to lose more money because of these recent comments. So really, it was more of a general, the market decided that Jimmy Kimmel should be off. The liberal was saying that this was a message from the Trump administration and from the government, that if you say anything that we don't want you to say, we're going to come after you. We're going to use all of our powers and all of our departments to come after you to make sure you do what we want you to do. This will not be the last time that this happens to somebody.
And I think there's two parts of this conversation. Free speech needs to be protected. It's one of our most fundamental rights. But the clips you played earlier of the Republicans is that it's the hypocrisy of it all, right? Like, okay, so do we want comedy or do we not want comedy? And do you just not want comedy when you're the butt of the joke? And so are we the left only soft when like you make fun of us and it hurts our feelings? Like, do our feelings not matter? We talked a lot about humanity this week around the murder of Charlie Kirk, but I feel like we're conflating two things that are happening here. We're conflating people who become offended when people say something they don't like, and then they want to take the greatest retribution to stop that rather than coming up with an actual comeback to stop it. I think that is separate than you then saying, I'm rethinking if the First Amendment should be the First Amendment.
I actually do want to call out something. I heard earlier this week Ezra Klein and Ross Douthat having a conversation, and there was this moment where Ezra says, I probably needed to acknowledge back a couple of years ago that we were a little too censorious, that the left was actually interested in kind of intimidating
something
people.
More liberals should say.
I think it would help.
They should acknowledge, not just in passing, but actively acknowledge where things went wrong. That's the only way to move forward.
Agreed.
I think, in a way.
That's a really interesting admission from CNN, saying that the liberals went too far when it came to censoring a few years ago when they had the power of the presidency, saying that they used the tech companies and these other companies to censor individuals and their speech online and in person, and that now they're saying that the right is going too far with their censoring mechanisms right now. So maybe there will be some sort of re-censoring, saying, hey, we didn't really like it when you censored us, and you guys don't like it when we censor you, so let's just not censor anybody. Let's just have free speech. And that is the bigger question. So free speech, where does it come from? What does the Constitution say about free speech? It all comes back to the First Amendment. And here is what it says. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. The First Amendment is designed to protect the people's rights from the government. When the Constitution was first written, the people had come from a monarchy from England, and it was a place where there was a lot of censoring going on with the king and parliament telling the people what they could or could not say. And they wanted to design this place in the United States of America as a place where anyone could say whatever they wanted, as long as they're not trying to harm people, like to cause physical violence to people. You can say whatever you want and the government can't do anything about it. Now, it doesn't mean that people can't treat you differently based on what you say. If you call your manager a jerk, they have every right to fire you because of what you said, but the government can't stop you from saying what you want to say, as long as you're not trying to promote violence to other people. This is a place where you can say whatever you want because of your God-given rights that we recognize through the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. I want to know what you think. Where do you think this is going? Do you think there's going to be some sort of recentering when it comes to censorship, free speech, cancel culture? Who's right in the Jimmy Kimmel situation? Is Jimmy Kimmel right? Is Trump right? Who's right? I want to know your opinion. Put your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with a friend. I'll see you next time.